Hello and welcome. Today we are looking at a whole bunch of new items. We have the new Hindash highlighters, the new Viseart palette, the new Byredo mascara, the new Dolce Gabbana gemstone lip balm, and the new Sonia G brushes. So let's start off with Hindash. So Hindash came out with 3 gradient highlighters. We have plastic packaging here with a click closure. There is a mirror here so you can pull off this tape. And this is the first one. This is the shade La Luna. And this is a Lilac Moon Pearl. Now I have to say, I don't find it that lilac-y. So I actually have them all swatched here. And you'll see the live swatches up close in just a minute. But this is La Luna. So we have this side, which is the darker side versus the lighter side. So you can see that our deeper side here and our lighter side, they're not that different. So the deeper side here has a little bit more like of a greenish gold hue to it. It's slightly warmer in tone, whereas this one has a little bit more of that bright white. So it's a very cool tone, but it's more of a white highlighter. I really don't see lilac. I feel like in the photo, I was expecting something a little different. I have to say, I was expecting something different for Doll Dynasty also because I thought it was more pink. But this is actually going to be much more orange. So these two here are Doll Dynasty. So you can see we have kind of this bright orange here. It's kind of like a nice peachy pumpkin. And then more of a golden beige. So these two are Doll Dynasty. And this last one here is Peak Heat. And Peak Heat is I picked this one up because I thought I could use it more as like a luminizing bronzer. And I thought this would be really pretty on the eyes. I did not test that here today, but you can see that I think this one would actually be very nice on the eyes. We have a deep reddish brown and a lighter reddish brown, but they're kind of, you can see they're in the same family there. So these are the 3 highlighters. Let's look at the demos and the up-close swatches. So the Hindash Gradient Highlighters retail for $40 US. These are a hybrid gel powder highlighter with pearlescent pigments in their purest form to mimic light on the skin. We have 3 different shades, and these are made in Italy with an 18-month shelf life, and we have 10 grams of product. So I think they're actually a really beautiful formula. If you are using these on the eyes or you're using, a finger application to get a little bit more density with it, you can feel a little bit of the graininess from the different pigments. So if you were to get these for eyeshadow purposes, it's not something I would wear daily unless you have another shadow as a base, just because for me at least, they would be a little bit irritating, which is why I did not demo these on the eyes today. After the Viseart eye swatches, my eyes were a little bit too sore for that. So we have the 3 finishes, or the 3 shades. The first one, La Luna, is a moon pearl with a lilac gradient. But again, to me, it really just looks more like a warmer white to a cooler tone white. I don't really see any lilac in it. I don't see it in the pan, and I don't see it on my skin. So perhaps if you have a warmer skin tone, those purple hues might show up a little bit more clearly than they do on me. I have neutral, leaning cool skin. Doll Dynasty is described as champagne with a pink gradient and a satin shimmer finish. And again, for me, this is more orange and gold. I don't really see pink in here. The orange shade really isn't even a coral, which would have more pink in it. It's really more of a soft pumpkin to me. And then we go into more of a golden champagne, golden beige kind of shade. So I think it's really beautiful. The deeper shade here does kind of work nicely with my skin tone if I'm looking for a warmer highlight and I go in with a light hand. But I was expecting something a bit more pink, and it's just not really that. So I would love to see a cooler tone pink highlighter, perhaps going to a lilac gradient. So I think that would be a gorgeous combination. The third one, Peak Heat. This is described as rosy neutral bronze with a satin shimmer finish. And I can see the red hues in the bronze shade. It really is a reddish bronze, but to me, it's not really rosy. Rosy implies slightly cooler. And I would definitely say this is more like a fiery red bronze in the deeper shade. And it goes into a softer version of that, more subdued version for the lighter hue. So I think all of the highlighters are very beautiful. I like the formula. They perform nicely. I think they will look beautiful on the eyes, but you will get a little bit of texture there. So if you have very sensitive eyelids, I would not recommend using these on the eyes. But I do think that they are a really nice highlighter. So a few details. These are talc-free, they're D5-free, fragrance-free, and paraben-free. And you can layer these for different intensity levels. So you can see in the demos, I went in with the Detail Pro from Sonia G for a lighter look, but I kind of paused a little bit before adding more. So you could see that build. And you can definitely use these on cheeks or eyes. So it is something that is recommended for use on the eyes as well. Now for today's look, I used the SUQQU Blurring Color Blush in 102, which is one of my favorites right now. That's from their fall winter collection. And I absolutely love that. So I have that on, and then I wanted to have a cooler tone pink highlight. So I mixed the Doll Dynasty with the La Luna, and I use that as a highlight. And I really like the effect. I love how these blend together. The gradient look, you know, really fits in well with Hindash's palettes, the Beautopsy palette and so forth. I love the whole concept of that. I personally do really like his palettes as well. So I think these fit in very nicely with that, and I love the sheen, but I would love to see some cooler tone shades aside from like the La Luna, which is more white to me. So overall though, I think they are really beautiful. Let's look at just a couple of quick comparisons. So I did have a few requests. This one here is the Hermes highlighter. This is the Poudre 24 Faubourg. So we're gonna go ahead, let's put this one right here because it's kind of closer to Doll Dynasty, but you can see this one definitely has a bit more pink in it. It's not as orange as Doll Dynasty. So the Hermes, it is like a warm shade here. So you can see how those compare. And then another request was for the Dior Corail Lumiere from the holiday collection. So this one here, it looks cooler in the pan than it does on the skin. You can see this definitely has a bit more of an orangey hue to it. This one is going to be more similar to Doll Dynasty, more like if you mix these together, but it has a little bit of a browner hue to it. So it's almost like you mix, I guess 80% of Doll Dynasty with maybe 10% of the lightest shade here in the peak and 10% of the lighter shade in Doll Dynasty. And I feel like that kind of gives you Corail Lumiere. But I do think that is relatively close. This is the Valentino Holiday Highlighter. So I wanted to just go ahead and put a swatch of this. This is a gold shade. So you can see how that compares to the lighter shade in Doll Dynasty. And you can see they do have some similarities. This is going to be a little bit more of a true yellow gold, whereas we have a little bit more of that burnished, almost a little bit more orange in the Doll Dynasty. This is the Cle de Peau Holiday Highlight in 108. So I wanted to compare this to the La Luna, because you can see that they are going to be much more similar in color, but you can see a little bit more of that purple blue in the Cle de Peau, whereas you don't really see that so much in the La Luna shade. You can also notice that the pearls in the Cle de Peau, these are going to be a bit smoother. They're more finely milled than the Hindash. You can see the way that, you know, it's kind of creamy on the skin. It kind of melts in, gives you a little bit more, I wouldn't really say metallic, but almost more like that. Whereas you can see the actual particles of the Hindash. So let's go ahead and move on. So for Viseart, the Sireneuse Étendue palette, we do have a little bit of a packaging change. So we still have the ribbon down here that helps you lift the lid. And then these are magnetic, so that does kind of help you if you want to mix and match and sort of sort things out. But this is where we used to have a mirror, so we don't have a mirror anymore. However, I wanted to show you, this is entirely magnetic here, so you can actually take this off. You can move it up here if you want, but this does allow you to kind of mix and match your palettes. And, you know, if you're like putting everything in one big palette and so forth, you can actually take this entire piece there. As always, our pans are individually removable. You have a little notch here to lift these out, and There you go. So these are magnetic as well. So that's one of the great things about Viseart with their versatility. But let me just show you the old packaging design for the Eton Do. So we had a mirror here and it came with a little plastic sleeve. Now, let me just clip to the opening of this. You can see that we actually have a plastic, not plastic, it's almost more like a wax papery plastic, you know, piece of paper that goes on here, and it's clipped in. You've got perforated lines, so you can tear that off if you want. I did remove mine, but it's probably better to keep it. I just removed mine for ease of use while filming, but if I were not filming, I'd probably leave it there just to keep everything nice and neat. And then of course you have the envelope to put it neatly back in, and the shades are labeled on there. So let's go ahead and do some quick swatches. And I have to say, I absolutely love this palette. So I purchased this actually from Beautylish, but while I was filming, another one actually showed up in PR. So I will have one of these as part of my holiday giveaway that will be in my holiday collection ranking video coming up soon. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. I've got some great products in there. So you can see our first shade here is kind of like it's a coppery brown with a touch of rose. And then we have a nice matte, kind of like a, you know, hard to explain this particular shade. It is kind of like a soft khaki, like think of like Dockers khaki pants type, you know, kind of that deeper shade, but a little bit lighter than that. And then we have a deeper version here with a little bit more warmth and orange in it. And then the last shade on the top here, you can see is actually a subtle duochrome. So I love this. And you can see when you're looking at this, you can actually get some greenish glints from this as well. So it's kind of like a soft rusty rose with a little bit of green shimmer. Then we have an ivory matte with a touch of peach in it. It's very soft peach. And we have a beautiful brown satin shade. And this has a little bit of gray in it. It's going to be a slightly cooler brown there. Following that, we have a soft gold. But what I love about this gold shade is we have silver shimmer in it. I think it's such a beautiful holiday shade. Actually, I think you can make so many beautiful looks in here. And you can replicate the, you know, quintessential holiday kind of looks as well. Last up we have, for the second row, we have a matte shade here that almost looks black, but it's a super deep green. And then we have some green and silver shimmer in here. And I have this as a liner on the eyes right now. And actually that's my favorite way to use this, because when you do kind of concentrate it as a liner, even though I used it dry, you can really see that shimmer and the emerald hue in it. So for the next row, we have a soft, a little bit more of a fawn champagne. And then we have another duochrome here, which, I mean, look at it on my finger here. You can see we've got kind of like a mauve base with blue shimmer. And when it catches the light, you can get some warmth or you can get some coolness with it. For our next matte here, this is one of my favorites. And I think depending on your skin tone, this may look purple on you. On me, it's more of a deep mink gray with a touch of brown. I think it's beautiful. And then our last shade is a nice, rich satin cocoa brown. And I love it. I have to say, I think this palette is gorgeous. Now, before we move on to the Viseart eye swatches, I'm briefly showing you the unboxing of the Sonia G brushes. So this is her new holiday set. I had to pick this up. So I ordered these right away from Beautylish. I was worried they were going to sell out. I think they are stunning. You can definitely get more information on how these were created on the Sweet Makeup Temptations blog. That's Sonia G's blog. I'll leave that linked down below in the description box. But I love the way the lacquer is on these, and we have kind of that burnished gold ombre in there, and you can see bits of that peeking out. That was totally intentional. I think the design is gorgeous, and this fits in beautifully with her other collections. So as we're going through today's look, and let's take a look at those swatches now. This is a Viseart Sireneuse Étendue, and Viseart Pro is kind of what they have termed with the products with their new packaging design here. So you can see we definitely have a different packaging. We have this beautiful wave texture on here, and we have our traditional magnetic closure that we're used to with this. So we have 12 shades, 18 grams of product, so 1.5 grams each, a 3-year shelf life, and this is going to be made in the United States. It retails for $44 US, and it is inspired by legends of the Night Sea and Poseidon's starlit kingdom. And I have to say, regardless of the inspiration, to me, this is one of the best holiday releases. I love this palette for all of the different tones in here. You've got great shades for year round. You can make beautiful, sophisticated looks. If you want to focus just on the mattes, I have to say the mattes in this palette are a little creamier than some of my previous ones. I love these mattes. They are so nice. Viseart mattes are one of my favorites in general, but these ones here, I could really notice that they felt even creamier, and I'm really happy with them. Then we've got some beautiful, sophisticated shimmers and satin shades here. And when we get to today's eye look, you can see before I put on any of the duochrome shades, I thought that was just a really nice, like, everyday look. But we also have, you know, some of those golds that are perfect for holiday with a little bit of, you know, different nuances. Like, I love this gold shade with the silver shimmer. To me, that's special. You can brighten that up or make it a little more holiday with like a green eyeliner or something like that, or, you know, do a nice wing with it. I think it's a beautiful shade. I think these shades layer beautifully. And then you still have some fun shades with the duochromes. So I love the duochromes here, but actually my favorite duochrome is the more subtle one in the top row. I love that green reflect that I get there. And if I put that on with a brush, it's very, very subtle. If I use a fingertip, then you get a little bit more, but it's still going to be fairly subtle. And then when the light hits, you just see a little shift of the green. And it actually makes me think a lot of the Dolce & Gabbana lip balm, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Now, I do want to note that on the Beautylish website, it says that it's manufactured in France, and perhaps the packaging is, but on my actual palette, it says made in the United States. So just something to note there. But the reason for the packaging change, you know, is actually to make it more customizable. It's more eco-friendly, and it's really, you know, great for professionals who need to kind of mix and match different things. So you have that customizability with this, plus you can remove the entire pan, put that in a larger palette. So Viseart actually sells the larger palettes like the Grande Pro palettes that you could mix this in, create your own thing. So, you know, I personally do miss the mirror, but I love how you can actually remove everything here. I think that is really nice. So as we're moving on to the eye swatches and today's eye look, for the eye swatches, I wanted to use just a flat shader. This is the Hakuhodo B004G, and that's just plain goat hair. I wanted to make sure that we had something kind of firmly pressed that went easily on the eyes. But for today's eye look, I wanted to focus on the Sonia G brushes. Now, as we are looking at these Sonia G brushes, as we're doing today's eye look, I started off with the crease brush. And you can see that this is a nice smaller crease brush here. These brushes are a mix of white Canadian squirrel and SUQQU goat hair. They are durable, easy to use, definitely powders only, but they have the right flexibility to kind of put things on softly, yet the bristles kind of stay together, so you're not getting things splayed out. Things are sticking where you want them to go. So I use the crease brush not only in the crease to add some dimension, but also kind of all over the lid, and you can use this on its side to really go all over the lid as well. The smaller shader brush is a great size to go all over the lid, yet really be precise where you want to put things. And I think it has a really great shape and size to it. The pencil brush, I have to say, I really love the size and shape of this pencil brush because it's a little smaller than many of the ones she has, yet it's not one of those ones that's so thin that they're harder to use. So this works great with powder products, and I think it really did a great job with these Viseart shadows here. So just a quick look at some comparisons of the brushes. I wanted to go through and find which brushes I have that were the closest in shape and size. So starting with the crease brush, the one that it first reminded me of was the mini booster from the Sonia G Sky set. But you can see that this is going to be a little bit fluffier, whereas it's a little bit more narrow with the new maki-e brush, and these will actually stay together a little bit more. The mini booster slightly larger overall. So those are pretty close though in size and shape. And then for the shader brush, it's closest to that in one of her previous sets here. So you can see they are similar. They are going to be a different hair type, but size and shape are very similar. Now, the hair mix of the White Canadian Squirrel and Goat does make this a little bit more firm than this one here, the squirrel hair here. So this is it has a little bit more flexibility. We have a little bit more bounce back with the new one. And then as for the pencil brush, the most similar one I could find was actually my Refer 03 brush, which you can see is a little bit larger. And so this is going to be a little bit larger. Get a nice point with this as well, but this is going to be a little bit smaller, and we have plenty of flexibility with it. So I hope that was helpful. So I just wanted to do a couple of quick comparisons here. So this is Cashmere, which is one of my favorites, and this is the original Cashmere. So I'm just going to go ahead and swatch these kind of right next to it so you can see how these compare. They are pretty different palettes in my opinion. We have a lot more rosy tones with the Cashmere, and we've got some beautiful brown neutral shades here, but this palette has a bit more like mauve and roses and so forth, which is also a really great color story for the holidays or year round. As I mentioned, this is one of my all-time favorite palettes from Viseart, and you can see I feel like they go together well. So that's one I wanted to look at, as well as this one, which is Violette Vespertine. So this one came out, was it last year? This is another one of my favorites. And I'm going to go ahead. I was hoping to kind of get these on the tail end. So let's see if I can get these kind of squeezed in here. And again, we do have some similar vibes. This has kind of those dusty mauve shades, but it also has some nice purples, more like rich luxe purples in my opinion. So it's, I think, another great palette. And yeah, I would have to say these are some of my favorites. The regular Violette palette's one of my favorites, as well as the one that came out earlier this year, the, what was it? The Perry, I'll have to look that up. But those are kind of like my top favorite ones there. So you can see this has more of those like smoky purple vibes, but I feel like all of these kind of go together nicely. So I hope that was helpful. Let's move on to the Byredo mascara. So for the Byredo mascara, this is a new shade for the holidays. This is part of their holiday collection. Let's take a look at the demo here, and you can see I'm adding this on with today's eye look, and you can see we do have kind of that curved bristle or a curved mascara head. And so I used the convex side on the right eye and the concave side on the left eye. So you could really see the difference. The convex side definitely gave me a bit more product, more volume. Whereas when I used the concave side on the left, it added more lengthening and kind of, took care of any excess product on the lashes. So ideally you may want to combine the two, go in first with the convex side and then go in with the concave, or whatever. That's typically what I like to do. Or if I'm going for a daytime look, I like to use just the concave side. The mascara is made in Italy. We have a 6-month shelf life, which is standard for mascaras. And this is the shade Magnetic State. You can see it's a dark hunter green. We have 14 milliliters of product. So just one more time, this is the dark green shade here. I have to say I really like it. I do like Byredo mascaras. I love some of the shades that they come out with. And this one is no exception. I think it goes beautifully with the Viseart palette, and it really emphasizes that green sparkle in the liner shade, or the shade that I used as a liner in the Viseart, this one here. So let's take a look at the Dolce & Gabbana lip balm. So here is the Gemstone lip balm. So this goes along with their Gemstone holiday collection. So this is limited edition. I think is absolutely stunning. I mean, look at this. And first swipe with this, if you are to swipe it for real the first time, you're going to get part of that overspray on there. You're getting extra crystals. So you can see that kind of in the reel that I did with this, if you saw that. So you could see that kind of swipe there, and then next to it swiped without that overspray. Let's take a look at this on the lips, and you can see this gives a really soft, subtle shimmer. The glitter in here is actually going to be more of a green reflex. So we've got some like green and silver, and that's what I like. It makes it, it's a little different than other glitter lip balms just for that reason. Texturally, I would say is very smooth. It's one of those more of an oil-based lip balm, so it's very smooth and silky on the lips. It's not very thick and cushiony though. It's going to be a thinner texture, but it's very emollient, so it comes up easily. It's not stiff and waxy. And I think it's really comfortable. I love the actual appearance of this. It's pretty subtle on the shimmer though, so you're going to have to really go back and forth a lot to truly build up a lot of glitter if that's what you're looking for. This is better for more of a subtle shimmer. So let's just take a look at one more swatch here. So this here, you can see the swatch right there on my hand. And there's a fresh swatch. So you can see, even going back and forth a lot, you're not getting tons of glitter there. You're getting more light reflection with a little bit of that green hit. So right now I have it paired on top of the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Fair lip liner, which is one of my favorite kind of like rosy nude shades there. And I think having another color underneath the balm really helps emphasize a little bit of the sheen for it. I love the way the green plays off of the rosy shades. So I hope that was helpful. Now, although not a lip balm, this is the shade Aventurine from SUQQU in their lip crystals. So just to show you the difference in the amount of shimmer, something like this is going to be much more shimmery than the Dolce & Gabbana. The Dolce & Gabbana is great on its own. It's great as a topper, but it's definitely going to be a bit more subtle. And personally, I love it. I think it is such I just think it's gorgeous, easy to use, makes a great stocking stuffer as well, because this is something somebody is going to open it and they're just going to be like, oh, I think it's stunning. So in summation, we start off with the Hindash highlighters. I think they're a great formula. They're really beautiful highlighters. I like the grading effect. It fits beautifully with this line. The colors weren't exactly what I expected, but I do like them. So those are definitely a nice product. Then we moved on to the Viseart Sireneuse palette, and I love it. It's, you know, a new favorite for me. I think it is fantastic. Great color stories, beautiful shades, fits in beautifully with my other ones. The formulas are fantastic. We looked at the Sonia G maki brushes with those as well, and I love them. I think this is a great set. So, I mean, this is definitely one that I need to get a second set of so that each of my daughters will have one eventually someday. It's a great set. So really love that. Love the Byredo mascara. I think this deep green shade is stunning and very happy with that. It's a beautiful shade. It goes nicely with a Byredo holiday palette, but it goes so beautifully just for every day with so many other products. And then the Dolce & Gabbana glitter or gemstone lip balm. I love it. I think it's special. It's one I'm going to be using regularly. As a matter of fact, I'm going to bring it down with me and stick it in my purse now. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.